Walk into any auto parts store and you'll see them lined up on the counter. The little plastic dongles, the code readers, the gizmos that promise to reset your check engine light for $50, $100, $200. And behind the counter, the mechanic will give you that solemn nod and say, "Yeah, could be a bad sensor, might need a throttle body cleaning. Let me hook up the computer." But what if I told you there's a way to force your car's computer to completely relearn its baseline settings, to clear out years of accumulated electronic gunk, and often solve a dozen common drivability issues? And it takes 2 minutes, requires 0 tools more advanced than a 10mm wrench, and costs absolutely nothing. It's a trick mechanics know but almost never tell you, because it can literally wipe out hundreds of dollars in diagnostic and service fees in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. This is the battery disconnect reset. Now let's be absolutely clear up front. This is not a magic fix for broken parts. If you have a blown oxygen sensor, a cracked intake hose, or a failing fuel pump, disconnecting the battery won't help. What it does fix are problems caused by the computer's adaptive memory getting lost, confused, or corrupted. Your car's engine control module, ECM, is a learning computer. It constantly adjusts fuel trim, idle speed, ignition timing, and transmission shift points based on sensor data to optimize performance and emissions. Over time, as sensors age slightly, you use different fuel or minor vacuum leaks develop, the ECM adapts to these changes. It's trying to compensate. But sometimes those adaptations get so far out of whack that the car starts running poorly. And it's not because of a new failure, but because the computer's learned behavior is now wrong. Classic symptoms of a corrupted adaptive memory include a rough, loping, or inconsistent idle, especially when the AC kicks on. Hesitation, or a sluggish feeling when you press the gas. Poor fuel economy that crept up on you slowly. Erratic or harsh automatic transmission shifts. A general feeling that the car just isn't running as smoothly as it used to, but there's no check engine light. This is where the reset works. By disconnecting the battery, you cut all power to the ECM. This erases its volatile memory, which includes all those long-term fuel trims and adaptive values. When you reconnect, the ECM is essentially a blank slate. It has to go back to its factory-programmed base maps and start the learning process all over again from zero. In doing so, it often unlearns the bad habits it had picked up. The step-by-step mechanic's secret procedure: 1. Safety first. Park on a level surface, put the car in park, or gear for manual, set the parking brake, turn the ignition off, remove the key or make sure the key fob is away from the vehicle. 2. Locate and disconnect the battery, pop the hood. Identify the negative battery terminal. It will have a minus sign and usually a black cable. Using a simple wrench, usually 8mm, 10mm, or 13mm, loosen the nut on the terminal clamp. You only need to disconnect the negative terminal. Do not disconnect the positive red terminal. Once loose, twist and pull the negative clamp off the battery post and secure it away from the battery. You can tuck it to the side or rest it on a piece of wood or plastic. You want it to have no possibility of touching the metal terminal. 3. The drain period. This is the critical part most people skip. Leave the battery disconnected for a minimum of 15 minutes. 30 minutes is better. During this time, you are draining the residual power from all the capacitors in the car's computers. If you only disconnect for 30 seconds, some modules may not fully reset. While you wait, you can clean the battery terminal and cable clamp with a wire brush if they're corroded. 4. Reconnect and relearn. After your wait time, reconnect the negative terminal to the battery post. Tighten the clamps securely. That's it for the physical part. 5. The drive cycle. Relearn. This next part is crucial. The reset is only half done. When you start the car, it will likely idle high, maybe 1,500 RPM, and run a bit rough. This is normal. The computer is running on default settings. Do not just shut it off. You must initiate the relearn drive cycle. Start the car. Let it idle until the cooling fan comes on and goes off at least once, or for about 10 minutes. This allows it to relearn base idle. Drive the car. Take it on a 15 to 20-minute mixed drive. Include city streets with stops, gentle acceleration up to 45 to 50 miles per hour, and a stretch of steady highway cruising if possible. Avoid aggressive throttle. The goal is to expose the computer to a variety of common driving conditions so it can rebuild its adaptive tables smoothly. What you're likely to notice after this process is that the idle smooths out significantly. Throttle response often feels crisper. Shifts may become smoother. The car feels fresher. You haven't fixed any worn parts, but you've allowed the computer to stop compensating for ghosts, phantom problems that were stored in memory from a temporary condition that may have happened months ago. Why mechanics can't stand this trick? It's simple economics. A shop charges, say, $120 for a diagnostic scan. They may then perform an idle relearn procedure or a throttle body adaptation using their expensive scanner, a service they charge another $50 to $100 for. They might also recommend and perform a fuel system cleaning for $150 to try to fix the rough idle. You're looking at a $300 plus invoice for a problem that, in many cases, could have been solved by a 15-minute battery disconnect and a deliberate drive. This trick exposes that a lot of basic drivability work is essentially just resetting the computer and letting it recalibrate to the actual current state of the engine, not replacing a bunch of parts. It doesn't make the mechanic's advanced diagnostics for real failures any less valuable, but it does eliminate a lot of the low-hanging fruit that pads the average repair order. Important caveats and what gets reset. Remember, you're wiping volatile memory. This also resets your radio presets and security codes. Have your radio code ready if needed. Your power window and sunroof auto functions. You'll often have to reinitialize them by holding the switch up/down for a few seconds. The steering angle sensor, your stability control light, may come on until you drive a straight line for a minute. The automatic transmission's shift adaptation, hence the need for the gentle drive cycle. When this trick does not work, if your check engine light is on for an active fault code, disconnecting the battery will temporarily turn the light off. But the code is stored in permanent memory. It will return after a drive cycle or two when the computer retests the system and finds the fault still present. This trick is for drivability issues without an active check engine light. It's maintenance, not repair. Let's go deeper into why this works, the advanced applications, and the precise science that turns this simple action into a powerful diagnostic and maintenance tool. This isn't just a turn it off and on again trick for cars. It's a fundamental recalibration of the vehicle's central nervous system. The deep reset, beyond the ECM. When you disconnect the battery, you're not just resetting the engine control module, ECM, you're resetting every module on the CAN bus, controller area network, the car's internal digital network. This includes the transmission control module, TCM. This is why shift patterns change. The TCM learns your driving style, how aggressively you accelerate, how often you brake. A sluggish driver's TCM will adapt for fuel economy, which can feel unresponsive to a new, more assertive driver. A full reset forces the TCM back to factory shift pressure and timing maps, often restoring crisp, firm shifts that had softened over 50,000 miles of grandma mode. The body control module, BCM, this governs power windows, sunroofs, interior lighting, and key fob memory. The reset often fixes phantom electrical gremlins, a dome light that wouldn't turn off, a power window that forgot its auto-up position. It clears the BCM's faulted state. the electronic power steering (EPS) module. Modern steering isn't just a mechanical link, it's a computer-controlled motor. The EPS learns to compensate for alignment pull or tire wear. After a reset, the steering will feel artificially light and centered until it relearns, which can sometimes mask a minor alignment issue that had been corrected by software. The climate control module. Systems with automatic climate control store sun load and temperature sensor calibrations. A reset can fix a system that's blowing too hot or too cold compared to the set temperature. This full network reset is why the procedure can feel so transformative. You're essentially rebooting the car's entire personality back to its factory-installed state. The adaptation idiot phenomenon and why new parts fail. Here's a scenario that baffles DIYers and generates huge shop profits. You replace a common part like a mass airflow (MAF) sensor because you have a rough idle and poor mileage. You install the shiny new OEM sensor, start the car, and it runs worse. You panic, thinking you bought a defective part or broke something. The problem isn't the new part, it's an old adaptation. The ECM spent months or years compensating for the old, failing MAF sensor by adding or subtracting huge amounts of fuel. Long-term fuel trims of plus 15% or minus 12%. When you install the perfectly accurate new sensor, the ECM is still applying those massive, incorrect compensations from the old data. So it feeds the engine wildly too much or too little fuel. The new sensor reports accurate air, but the computer's learned behavior is poisoning the calculation. The professional mechanic's step after replacing a sensor like this is to clear the adaptations. They do it with a $5,000 scanner. You can do it with a $10 wrench by performing the battery disconnect relearn protocol specifically for a new part. 1. Disconnect the battery negative, as before. 2. Install the new sensor/part while the battery is disconnected. This ensures no power is applied during installation. 3. Reconnect the battery after 15+ minutes. 4. Perform the critical idle relearn. Exactly. Start the car. Do not touch the throttle. Let it idle until the cooling fan cycles on and off at least once. This can take 10 to 20 minutes. This allows the ECM to relearn base idle with the new parts data, with zero interference from old fuel trims. Only after this should you drive it. This turns a potentially frustrating, confusing repair into a guaranteed success. It's the difference between a pro and an amateur result. The 2-minute transmission service, fluid change enhancement. If you're servicing your automatic transmission, dropping the pan, changing the filter and fluid, the battery reset is a force multiplier. New fluid has different friction characteristics. The old TCM adaptations were learned using old, worn fluid. If you just change the fluid and drive, the TCM is slow to adapt, and you might experience harsh shifts for hundreds of miles. The Pro method, after completing the fluid/filter change before starting the engine, disconnect the battery for 15 minutes, reconnect, then start and immediately perform the gentle 20-minute drive cycle. This forces the TCM to build its shift pressure maps from zero using the new fluid's properties. The result is noticeably smoother, faster adaptation to the fresh fluid, making the service feel complete immediately. The security and radio headache, and how to avoid it. The biggest annoyance is losing radio presets and potentially triggering anti-theft. The modern workaround is to use a memory saver, a small 9-volt battery backup that plugs into your car's OBD2 port or cigarette lighter before you disconnect the battery. This provides just enough standby power to keep the RAM in the radio and ECM alive. However, use caution. A cheap memory saver can cause voltage spikes. The safest method is to simply document your radio presets and be prepared to re-enter any security codes. often found in your glove box manual or on a card from the manufacturer. Try the 2-minute reset. It's the car world's equivalent of turning something off and on again. It's simple, it's free, and it might just remind your car's very expensive computer how to do its job properly. And that's a trick worth knowing.